Hey guys, we're Sasha and Freddie, and today we're going to be doing a van tour. We've been living in our van for the last 3 years and we've never actually done a van tour before, so we thought it was about time. We run a business on the road, so our van does need to sort of encapsulate the things that we need for that business. We did build it ourselves, so we were able to build everything that we needed into the van.
We purchased the van in 2020 from Western Australia, and it was during lockdown, so we couldn't go and see it. So we bought it sight unseen, but we had it shipped over to the East Coast. It took us 9 months to fit out, just fitting it out on the weekends while we were doing our regular jobs during the week.
We do ordinarily have our dog Frankie with us. When we were building it, we had to think about him as well. He's not with us today, unfortunately. He's home with my mum being spoiled rotten.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So our van is a 2016 Fiat Ducato extra long wheelbase mid-roof. That's basically the biggest one you can get in Australia. There is a larger one in Europe, but it's a big van. It's 6.3 metres long, and it's a wider van than most other vans, so you can actually sleep widthways. It gives us a bit of extra room for all the other, for our living quarters and the kitchen space and showers and things like that. I'm 6 feet tall. It works for us. There is a Peugeot Boxer and a Ram ProMaster in the US, and they're basically all the same van. Our van is the 3-litre turbo diesel option. Its GVM is 4.25 tonnes. So the tear weight, the revised tear weight, now that it's been converted to a motorhome, is 3.7. With all our work gear added in there and myself and Sasha, we're up to about 4.18 tonnes. The front suspension of our van has been upgraded to the Alco front strut coilover suspension kit. So that adds another 200 kilos to the GVM of the vehicle. Not that we don't push the standard GVM. This adds about 35 or 40 millimeters to the ride height and reduces the sort of the rolling around corners of the vehicle. In the rear, it's got the factory dual leaf springs. We've also added Airbag Man airbags, and that's just there to sort of correct the ride height to match the height of the vehicle at the front and the rear. It also helps a little bit with roll. When we purchased the van, it had 148,000 kilometres. It was a commercial vehicle. We're now up to 215,000 kilometres. So far the van has performed really well. The only issue we've had with the engine was it would go into limp mode on some hills, and we discovered that there was a leak in one of the air lines, so we were losing all the turbo pressure. So basically we were driving a turbo diesel without the turbo. That's been fixed now. We managed to fix that in a national park with some silicone tape and duct tape. We'll properly fix that in the future, but so far it's doing really well. As far as tyres, we've got all-terrain tyres. At the moment, they're the Falcon Wild Peak AT3s. We've only had them for about 10,000 kilometres, but they're doing really well. And they just give us a little bit of extra peace of mind when we're on sort of wet, grassy slopes and going through national parks, and there might be some wet and muddy trails. Prior to running the AT3s, for a couple of years, we had the BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain tyres. They were pretty good. They were much more aggressive than these ones. It also gives us a bit of peace of mind when we're in the snow. It just makes us feel a little less like we're going to slide off the side of the hill in some icy conditions. It is a front-wheel drive vehicle. It's not a four-wheel drive as much as we'd love it to be, but it suits us for what we're doing. So on the roof, we've got a very large custom roof rack that we made ourselves specifically to allow for a little bit of storage space for our stand-up paddleboard, as well as provide enough surface area to attach our solar panels. So we have a pretty large electrical system in our van. All our appliances are electric. We have 0 gas, so it needs to be a bit larger than most people would need. We have 1,200 watts of solar on the roof, 400 amp hours of lithium batteries, and we have a 3,000 watt peak 6,000 watt inverter. It's an entirely Victron system. The system has performed perfectly the entire time. We've had 0 issues with it. And we have seen some other systems that our friends have used that were not Victron, that were a little bit less expensive, and they have had issues. The Victron system is quite expensive. At the time, we paid $15,000 just for all the electrical hardware, excluding installation. So it is quite expensive, but for our peace of mind and its performance over the last 3 years, it's been well worth it. As well as that, on the roof we have our Thule Omnistor electric awning. It's a 4 metre by 2.5 metre awning. It's pretty hot here in Australia, so it's been well worth it. We got it on special. They are pretty expensive, but we got it at a good price, so we jumped on it. We also have fitted to the roof rack our Starlink internet dish. Because we're travelling with work, and at the moment we're in a national park I think 3 hours from Canberra, 2.5 hours from Canberra. So when you're in the middle of nowhere, we still need to be able to run our business. And the Starlink system is, again, another thing that's just done so well for us. It is expensive again. It's $170 a month for us for the unlimited version, but we need it for the business. We've actually converted the Starlink system to be 12 volts. So that consisted of taking the router, pulling it apart, building a new power setup for it. The dish runs on 48 volts and the router runs on 12 volts. So we had to sort of split things. There's a buck converter in there. So now that system runs on 12 volts. Because it's running on 12 volts, we don't need to be switching the inverter on and off. So it just makes things much more convenient and uses less power. The dish is mounted flat, but it's worked perfectly fine the entire time. As well as when we're driving, we'll still have the internet connection operational, which is handy because I can be driving somewhere on a long trip. Sasha can be on the laptop doing emails and stuff like that. If you're interested, recommend. So on the back door, we've got a Fiamma ladder fitted purely to support or purely to hold on to our gazebo for our pop-up markets. We've just added a little ledge here. So as far as water tanks, we've got a 90 litre freshwater tank and a 50 litre grey water tank. It's not a lot. Because they're front wheel drive, they have quite a low profile floor, which means there's not a lot of real estate under their fit water tank. If we need to, we could probably fit another 80 litres just behind the rear axle in front of the spare tyre, but so far we've managed without it. So we installed the windows ourselves, and when they came they were just a clear glass finish. We ended up getting them tinted about a year in to the darkest tint setting that we could get in Australia because the sun's pretty harsh and it gets pretty hot. Now that they're tinted, it's a lot cooler in the van during the daytime.
So in the back of our van, we have an elevated bed set up. So the bed is permanent and not pack-awayable. We have to carry a lot of stuff for our work. So this whole section is work-related. It's either jewellery stock that we have or it is display stuff for our pop-up shop that we run. So that's all over here and that's what the tables are for. This box is also work stuff. That's just like random bags and stuff like that. This is like a toolbox. We've got, some chairs and hose. We've got some weights for our market stall again. So a lot of work stuff, as you can see. At the back is our hot water system. So it's a 15 litre hot water system that we got from Bunnings. We don't need a lot of literage when it comes to hot water. It heats up quite quick. So it heats up in sort of 10-15 minutes. And then that will do both showers, so Freddie and I. And we usually run out of hot water by the end of those 2 showers, but that's perfect for us. We've had it for 3 years and no problems with it, so that's been good. The system of having the bed up the top with all the storage down the bottom, you get a lot of space. If you are doing a build and you do need to have quite a bit of storage space, I would absolutely recommend this setup. If we didn't have to have the work stuff, I like to think that we would probably do the whole bench seat setup and then you have storage under the bench seats. But then also it would be nice to be able to have some more fun gear, hiking, camping, that sort of gear, so we could go on multi-day hikes. That would be really fun to do as well, but at the moment work is sort of the priority, so that's what our storage is for. So that is the back. Now I'll take you into the inside. Alrighty, so our van, we've installed 2 swivel seats on the 2 front seats. When we got the van, we did have the bench seat option that comes as sort of standard on most of these vans. So we bought a wrecker's driver's seat and we have changed where the seatbelt went. So that's how come there's 2 seatbelts on it, because we had to keep the original on for the computer system so it wouldn't have a fault. And that's all been signed off by an engineer. So the swivel mechanisms are this red thing here. You just take the seat off, you install this plate, and then you can swivel it. It's very noisy. Yeah, we need to get some silicone spray on there, but anyway, that's a job for Freddie to do. It makes use of the cab space, which is quite a big space when you are working with a small space. It's a bit of a wasted area, so it's been really good to be able to use those seats. And then we have our fold down table, which you just remove this guy here put that back under here and then it folds down. When we first built the van, for the first couple of months, every time we would go to drive, we would fold the table down and drive off. We soon got quite lazy about that, and we no longer fold the table down and it stays up permanently. It's a super low tech option compared to the lagoon mounts that I've seen a lot of people use, which are quite expensive. Obviously, if you need your table to move, the lagoon mounts are great, but if you just have a static table, I can't recommend just a stick of timber as an option. So we also built in, there's a bit of a gap here, and that's got a curtain track. So then we can pretty easily shut off the cab. And we have little clips that we shut these with. And these are light blocking, and I think there's some thermal properties to them as well. But yeah, just like very cheap curtains from Spotlight. Nothing fancy. And then a rope to keep them back when we're not using them. And that's just, you know, we use that every night when we go to sleep just to have privacy. Then the cab can be open. You don't need to have your window coverings up. It looks a little bit more discreet and maybe a little bit more stealth if, you know, a council worker comes along and shines their light into your cab. They can't see anything. We also have installed this like front covering for the above cab storage, so it's kind of cleans it up a bit. It's very full because it's a little bit cold at the moment, so all that winter stuff goes up there during colder times. It's just a really good like big stuff storage area, and it's quite big as well. So throughout the van we do have some LED strip lighting, which we use periodically depending on what we're doing. Then we also have quite a bit of storage up top and some little cute nooks on the side that we put like books and things in. In terms of heating and cooling in our van, in Australia, especially where we hang out a lot, it gets really, really hot and quite humid. But then we also like to spend time at the snow, like we mentioned. We've designed the van to be able to handle both really quite hot conditions and cold conditions as well. So the shell of our interior fit out is stick-on sound deadener on the metal, the external metal, 10mm foam with foil backing, and then we have real sheep's wool insulation as our insulation. So all these things work together, and like I said, we go into very cold climates, stay very comfortable, and then also in the hotter environments, so long as we have airflow, it also stays very comfortable in here. So we have 4 of these opening windows, which are great, and they've got, you know, mesh there as well for all the bugs. We also have a heater in this cupboard here where our bin is, so we have a pull-out bin, but underneath we have our heater just there. I'll point with my feet. When we need to use the heater, we just open the door, turn it on, heats up the space really quickly. It's a diesel heater, so it's incredibly efficient. They're quite cheap to buy. They were a little bit of a pain to install, so we did install it ourselves. We've connected the diesel fuel line to our actual diesel tank, so there's no separate container that we need to like keep topped up with diesel. It heats the van nicely. So about our 2 vents. So yeah, you can kind of see them on the inside now, one directly above the bed, one directly more or less over the cooking area. So when we're like cooking on the stove, we open up, there's a window on the door, so we open it up a little bit and we turn that fan on to draw out, and that draws all the steam and grease and stuff out of the van. So that's, you know, how come there's sort of 2 vents there. I do get some questions about steam in the shower. We haven't installed a separate vent in the shower. We haven't had any issues with steam in the shower. I mean, it's just a curtain, like a shower curtain in here, so the steam does like come out quite easily and it will go through there. But I mean, we're also not having like super long hot showers either. We're always being quite efficient with our water use, so never really been a problem. So with all of our finishes when we were building the van, we were in the depths of the lockdown, so we had problems sourcing a lot of materials, as most of the world did. So our timber that we've used is all Hevia from Bunnings. It's fine, but it's probably not what we would have chosen. We probably would have done some sort of oak in preference to this. We have coated our timber in a polyurethane. We initially went with one particular product. It didn't really weather very well, and now we've used a different product, and that's been great. So the walls of the van are built out of 2 layers of 3mm MDF sheet. We did the MDF because we did want this curve feature on the walls, and we needed, you know, a material that was able to bend. MDF in Australia no longer uses formaldehyde, which it does, I think, in other countries. So it is actually not such a bad product as it used to be in Australia. And we have also sealed every face of each MDF sheet in a aqua block paint, just again to help if any water gets in underneath the wall through the outside of the van. There's a few different mechanisms we put in place to sort of help with mold and things like that. So far it's been great. So far we've had no issues, we've had no mold, no warping or problems with water in the van, so that's been good. So on to our shower. Just in general, there is a lot of discussion around having a shower, not having a shower. For us, we just literally use it all the time. I personally wouldn't want to be without the actual shower portion in the van. I really, really love it. And when you're doing it full time, I think it's important to have those comforts, if you will. Also, we do spend quite a bit of time at the snow, like we've mentioned, and this becomes our wet room during those times. So we have a rod that's here that we can move, and we move that back, and that becomes like a wardrobe rod that we can hang all our snow gear on top of. We also have some wall mounts for our snowboards, so they also go in here. So it's kind of a multi-use space. Also, you know, if you're surfing and you have a wetsuit, really good space to put your wetsuit as well, and togs and things like that. So for the shower compartment, it is made out of plywood, and then like a domestic house construction, we have fully waterproofed the whole thing before putting our linings on. And so the linings are a compact laminate on the sides, and then our tiles at the back. We have used a Dunlop flexible grout and glue to adhere the tiles to the wall. And so far in the last 3 years, we've been on some absolutely atrocious roads and kind of flexing the van on those roads, and we haven't had any cracks or missing tiles or anything like that. So that whole system has worked really well, and it's also, most importantly, stayed waterproof. The floor is a domestic fiberglass tray that's like a pre-made item, so made for houses, not just vans or anything. And it's got the falls already designed into it, and it's got the tray, the drain already in it as well. We do have just a curtain, a shower curtain on a rod. We were initially going to go with the retractable shower screen. They are quite expensive, and I guess at the end of the build we were sort of running out of money, and so we just went with this in the interim. However, we would 100% recommend just using a shower screen and not bothering with those retractable screens. This has been, it's so convenient. The shower curtain is obviously very cheap to install and easy, but it is also washable. You can replace it if you get bored of the design, or if it gets, mucked up or anything like that. And it's kind of nice, in terms of what the retractable screens look like when they're shut. I actually kind of think the white curtain looks a little bit nicer in the space, just aesthetically. I guess it depends what look you're going for, but for our fit out, we kind of preferred the look of the curtain. So our toilet is a Compo Closet compostable toilet. We only use the number 1 portion of the toilet. There are a lot of public toilets in Australia, and over the years we've sort of realised that whilst we have the option of using the full toilet capacities of this one, we don't need to, just because there are so many public toilets in Australia. When we are showering or using it as a wet area, that does slide into that little hole that we've designed there, and then you can kind of, hop in and have a shower as you need. And then just quickly, with all our sort of cupboards here, we've got our pantry. The pantry's got 4 of these pull-out trays, and just makes accessing all the food easier. And then the door's obviously got some storage on it as well. Really great pantry and heaps of room in there. And then over here we have our wardrobe and very important soda stream. And then we have some of our remotes on this wall here, just for like ease of access. And then more clothes in here, one for each of us, Freddie's, Sasha's. And then underneath, that's basically all our electrical, our batteries, our inverter, all the electrical components that we need to run our electrical system. And then it's also handy storage for things like our toilet paper. So just some random storage underneath. So up the top here, we do have our switchboard and the remote for our heater. And then we have our power monitoring screen up there, so we can just check what we're pulling and all that sort of stuff, and how much water we have left. Alrighty, so with our kitchen area, we have a 2-burner induction stove, and it is the brand Saffieri. It's been great, 3 years of use, never had a problem with it. Then we have a 130 litre fridge. It is the brand Vitrofriggio, and the thing that we really liked about this fridge is that the compressor is actually external, so you get a full width freezer, so it's a bit bigger than kind of most RV freezers, and this, I mean, it's very full at the moment, but the fridge will like keep us sort of fed with the amount of food that's in it for basically a week. So 130 litres for 2 people is basically good for a week of food, more or less, plus the pantry. We also have a microwave / oven / air fryer. So summer months we typically will use the oven function a lot more than winter months. We're getting a lot more sun in summer, like it's quite a drain on the batteries otherwise. It's quite convenient to have a microwave when our batteries are really low and we need to like reheat some food and we don't want to use the stove. It is a very efficient way to reheat food. So the 2 drawers here, this one is all kitchen stuff, cooking plates, cups, chopping board, etc. And then this is our like bathroom cupboard, so all bathroom stuff, first aid, all that sort of stuff. And then under the sink is our, I guess, more shower storage, but also the cleaning products, random things that need to fit. And then we do have very small but very well sized cutlery drawer, so just what we need, nothing that we don't. The kind of everything drawer. This drawer was very satisfying because it fits like our filter box just perfectly, and then it also fits our scale perfectly, and just everything fits. Our grinder fits here perfectly, so that's a very satisfying drawer for us. And then we have our plastics drawer over there. With our water tap system, we do have an under sink inline water filter. We do buy the kind of most expensive, best cartridge that we can find, just because we are going to some pretty random water fill points. We don't always know the quality of the water that we're getting. That filtered water comes through on the cold side of this tap. Aesthetically, we just think it just looks a bit neater. You've only got one tap, you don't have this like secondary little one hanging on the side here. So in terms of finishes in the kitchen, I mean, it's the same as sort of what we already talked about. We've got the tiles again with the same grout and glue that we used in the bathroom. And then we just have a little bit of storage up top. We do have like these bars here to keep everything in place, but it's all like pretty solid in there, and we've, you know, never had any issues. Some plants that I've tried to keep alive, and so far I'm doing all right. We have these little niches, more just like an aesthetic thing, and I guess it's become a collection point for all the random things that we find on the road. So we've got like dinosaur dust here from Winton, and we make a lot of friends while we're at market. So this was from a lovely lady in Canberra, makes those, some random like plants from the Blue Mountains that we stole. And then a friend of ours did paint a gorgeous picture of Frankie. If you haven't seen our videos before, this is what our dog looks like. Talking back about our light situation, so we have this strip light here, which is controlled by this switch. We put this here so that when we open the front door, say it's like dark at night, we can literally be standing outside and reach in and switch the light on and be able to see. However, all the other strip lights are controlled through a panel at the back. So then when we're in bed, we can turn off all the lights before we go to bed, things like that. So the main control panel for the light switches is back here, but we do have this kind of like convenient light here. Alrighty, so the bedroom. We have, like I said, we've got the 4 opening windows, so 2 are at the back area, which is really, really nice when it's hot outside and you need to be sleeping and be comfortable. We can open both of those up and have this like full breeze coming through while we're sleeping. It's really lovely. We have the motorized vents, which is great, but we also have our Sirocco fan at the back. I'll admit, I don't really rate the Sirocco fan. We have this portable fan that we got from Amazon for about, I think, $50. This thing works so much better than that. It pushes more air, it's a lot quieter, and I guess it's rechargeable so you can move it around wherever you want. The Sirocco is quite noisy and it doesn't push that much air, and it's really expensive. So if you are like looking for a more budget option, I would way more recommend that over that. We've got our 2 bedside lights, which we, use at nighttime when it's kind of time to wind down. The bed itself is basically a double-sized bed. It's the same width, it's just slightly shorter than a normal double-sized bed. We have gone through 3 different types of mattresses. We started with a foam mattress that was kind of like a mid-price point one that compressed really quickly because we're on it full time and it's not really made for full-time sleeping. Then we upgraded to the premium Clark rubber version. Again, it compressed relatively quickly and we weren't really comfortable on it. After about a year, it wasn't really comfortable. Now we have a inner spring. It's 110 mil, so it's quite thin, but it is inner spring. We haven't had it for too long now. It's maybe been 3 months that we've had it. We did buy it through BCF. It was a little bit more expensive than our premium foam one, but not too much more expensive, which was good. And so far it's been very comfortable and we haven't felt it rutting or compressing or anything like that. 3 months isn't a long time, but so far it's been really good. So just some info for mattress picking. The thing that's good about lying like sideways in the van is obviously wherever you park, you're going to be like different levels. And we always try to park as level as possible, but you can't always pick the way that you park. So we do change up our pillows and our heads depending on if, one side of the van is higher than the other. So that can be quite a convenient thing about sleeping this way. So up here we do have a bit more storage for, clothes and things. We have Freddie's Xbox up there as well. Our general viewing pleasure is run through a little projector here that we've attached to this cupboard, and that shoots onto this blank wall over here. So that is why that wall is blank. With Starlink we can always access those streaming services, so that's a really nice option instead of having like an actual TV set up. Alrighty, so with our flooring, it is a custom jute rug that we had made to fit the kind of weird shape of the floor. And it does have like an anti-slip mat underneath. So that just pops in there. We have a vacuum so we can vacuum it and keep it clean. I guess a lot of people go the like vinyl flooring plank or like timber on the floor option. It's just really nice underfoot. It's quite soft. When it's cold, it's nice and warm. When we have like quite sandy environments, you don't feel the sand under your feet quite as much. It kind of hides some of that dirt. So if you're a little bit sensitive with feet, I'm quite sensitive with my feet. I don't like to be standing on grit. So yeah, the rug's really nice, and it's dark, so it hides all stains and things like that. We have a dog, so it gets plenty dirty, and the black is a kind of easy colour to look after for maintenance. So, and just quickly while we're here, we do have some extra storage as well for like shoes and stuff, work things. This also brings the height up a little bit where we sit for the dinette, so it's a little bit more comfortable. So as you can kind of see, it's good to have your feet touching the ground, and if this floor level was the same as here, it'd be quite like you'd be dangling your feet. So just to bring that height up, we did create a step, and then it's awesome storage as well. We've also got our dog water bowl here, so built in, we can chuck that out, wash it, whatever we need. That will obviously have water in it when the dog's here, but Frankie isn't here at the moment. And then one of the great things we've just come across in terms of dog-friendly van life is this pull-out dog door, I guess. So this means we can have the door wide open and he can be kept inside. He can still see a little bit through it, so he can still he likes to watch things, people walking and all that sort of stuff. And it does let a little bit of air flow through as well. If you do have a dog, I would recommend getting one of these.
So as far as the cost of our build, the van cost us in 2020, keeping in mind, $32,000. It was a 4-year-old vehicle at that point in time and had 150,000 kilometres. It then cost us $15,000 for the electrical system, and then another 15 or so thousand for everything else. And obviously doing the build ourselves, we saved on labour costs. So all in all, we're looking at about 62, 65 grand, maybe all up for everything completed. Again, that's 3 years ago, so prices have obviously gone up a lot since then. So if you're looking at doing a build such as this, you're looking to pay at least $65,000, I would say.
So just to end the video, we're going to do some, I guess, tips and tricks that we think are helpful if anyone's building a van. Just things that we've learned over the last 3 years that we wish we had known 3 years ago.
First one, if you are looking at getting the Max Air fans, we recommend getting the remote controlled versions, because the little button panels, they do tend to fail. You can replace the little button panels, but having that remote is just a little handy little backup. And obviously you can lie in bed and turn the fan on. Also with those fans, again, I'd suggest before you install them, pulling them apart and lacquering the chipboards to seal out any moisture or corrosion from happening in the future. That's another thing that tends to fail on those, and that's quite an expensive fix.
Unfortunately, there isn't any other option in terms of brands for these types of fans. So just something to be wary of when you're building it.
Yeah, they're definitely the best ones out there, and you pay a lot for them, and they're great, but they are prone to breaking down at some point in their lifetime. With regards to windows, if you do have sliding windows, a little bit of silicone spray goes a long way. So when we first got our windows, a couple of them were quite stiff. Even before we installed them, they were quite stiff. And
to open.
Someone gave us a tip to spray a little bit of silicone in the sliding mechanism of the window, and now it's just amazing.
It works really well.
I wish we had have known that from day one, because for about a year and a half we were
struggling
to open these windows. Again, talking about the weight of our van, its GVM is 4.25, and with all our work stuff, we're pretty close to capacity there. The fit out itself, without all our work stuff, is about 3.72 tonnes. That's including all our water tanks and fuel tank full.
And all our stuff as well.
So the weight does add up pretty quick when you're doing these van builds, so always keep that in mind.
You can void your insurance if you're in an accident and you're overweight. So it is something that's relevant to keep your eye on and kind of be aware of when you're building it, and then also when you're living in it, and the stuff that you're collecting. Just something to keep an eye on.
As well as wear and tear on the vehicle.
And safety.
And safety hazard. If you're looking at doing a van build of your own, it's super rewarding. It can be pretty challenging, but I mean the outcome is such a great thing. You know, it's certainly a low cost way of living. There are compromises, obviously, but if you're into this sort of nomadic lifestyle, or doing some travelling for an extended period of time, building your own van is super rewarding.
We're very comfortable in it, and to the point of we're actually now considering our next van and what our next van build would be. So yeah, we're not really looking at finishing up anytime soon. We're very happy and very comfortable. If we were to do another build again, when we were building this one, we were at his mum's house and it wasn't really set up. We didn't have a proper workshop space. We were under this sort of tarp structure. So, you know, weather and all that sort of stuff was an issue, and we couldn't leave all of our things out. We had to put everything away every day. So if we would build again, we would definitely go and hire a workshop space and have a dedicated space that we could just leave all the tools out and work on the van.
And if we do another van, we're thinking it's going to be a four-wheel drive van this time, just to allow us to explore a bit more further afield. So we're interested in an Iveco Daily 4x4 van. They're not in Australia yet,
But they're coming.
but they might be coming to Australia soon in the next 12 months.
We've been told they are coming into the country in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, so we're keeping an eye on that.
Yeah.
And that might be the next one.
Yeah, so this one, maybe we'll, it might be up for sale in 12 months' time. If anyone's interested in this van.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that's probably it for this van tour. Please leave any questions you have down below, and I'll hop on and check the comments and respond to any questions that you have. I don't think we listed every single product that we mentioned, but if you do have any questions about brands or anything like that, feel free to ask down below. We do also post van life travel videos twice a week, so yeah, you can check those out on our channel as well. We'd love to have you over here if you want to follow along. You can also check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the things. And if you're in Australia, we do work pretty much every weekend. We do some kind of market event. So on Instagram, we update where we're going to be every week. So we'd love to see you in person if you want to meet us and have a chat. Otherwise, there is also our website, brinkandforbes.com, where you can order our jewellery and read up a bit about us and what we do for work. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.